स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. ओके ओके ओके. Hello students, welcome you all again for the crash course lecture, and I'm Dr. Kavita Devani Joshi, and our today's topic will be reproductive health. Okay, so as you all know that we were dealing with reproduction unit, right, and we have completed human reproduction. Okay, and now it's time to go on to the another topic, that is reproductive health, right? So before moving ahead, you have to tell me first of all that what do you mean by health. So this is a kind of a chapter which is somewhat related to our society, what we had done in our early phases, right, all those things. So first of all, it is necessary to understand about health, and then we can talk about reproductive health, right? So health means what? Can you think of it? Health means somebody's physical, social, behavioral, emotional well-being. Okay, so can we define it? Yes, we can define it as social, emotional, behavioral, physical well-being of an individual, but not merely the absence of disease, but not only the absence of disease. So that if a person is if you are able to see a person who is sitting in front of you, his legs, his hands, every part of body, external parts of body, they are apparent to you very normal and healthy, and physically you are considering him or her as completely fit, but it is not necessary that he is healthy. We cannot call him overall healthy. Why? Because maybe there is some issue going on in his house, financial issue, or any kind of at home his father's or mother's health issue, so he is not that emotionally sound. So that means that mental health is not there, so we can say that he is not mentally healthy. Okay, so just by looking from outside the external features, we cannot call a person healthy, right? Apart from that, one more thing, that is social. So social, if our surroundings are not healthy, for example, we are sitting in a group and again people are bullying and pulling our leg, or they are not, they are not accepting us, or maybe they are boycotting a particular person and targeting him or her. So that person will not feel good over a long period of time, and that is also a part which will bother him or her again and again, and that will also affect his or her health. So there is a need to be socially healthy as well. The society which we live in, so it should be there should be get-togethers, or at least there should be hi hello between all of them, and casual talks. If a family is living in a society whom nobody is talking to, so that is also not a good thing. So over a period of time, that family will not like that particular area or society, and they will try to change their home, or they will remain segregated from all others, which is also not a good thing. So basically social health is also important for us, right, and behavioral as well. So the person in front of me, the way he or she behaves with me, that also is important for my good health. And or you can do one thing, if that person is not behaving with you properly, and you know that is wrong, so you should not take that on mind. So if a person takes these kind of silly things on his or her mind, then also his health is affected. So in a way, I want to say that all these aspects are important for your health. But here what I am going to do is, I am going to because we are going to define reproductive health, so we can say, first of all we can write physical, okay, physical, social, mental, right, physical, mental, social, and behavioral, emotional, right? So all these terms I am talking about: emotional and behavioral well-being of an individual, and behavioral well-being of an well-being of an individual in aspects of reproduction now of an individual. Okay, so here your physical health is getting counted, mental health is getting counted, okay, and in aspects of reproduction. Now, all these factors, when you apply them to in aspect when you apply them in terms of reproduction, so now this becomes the definition of reproductive health, right? So what does this mean in case of reproductive health, all these things? So a person should be physically healthy, that means all the genital organs, sex organs, they must be sound. Then mental health should be sound, that if we can say that a person should be if we want to include the example of pregnancy, so the couple should be mentally ready for that responsibility. Then only it can be done in a successful manner, or you can say in a healthy way. And social, that means the surrounding people, they should not put any kind of pressure on them for baby or for any other thing. If some treatment is going on, so again and again the relatives are asking what happened, it got successful or no. So all these things put pressure on their mind, so they that should not be there. So they should live in a healthy environment. And when I talk about emotional, so emotional, for example, a person is going through some tragedy or trauma, so at that point of time he or she is not emotionally sound for any kind of reproductive procedures and behavioral well-being as well. So for example, a very simple example, if a couple is there, so they should behave with each other nicely, or in a manner that nobody hurts the other person, neither physically nor mentally, okay, by any words or bad words, you can say. So this is how we relate all these things with reproductive health. So now I will be talking about certain concerns which we should talk about. That in the initial years there were certain concerns, that overpopulation is the first most concern. So the population was constantly increasing, and that's how the government introduced some programs like family planning program. And this is an important question. Why? Because this is asked to you, the year is asked to you, so it is after, in the 1950s. So family planning program 1951 is the exact year, so you should remember that year, because that is asked to you. So family planning program, so that the people literally plan that how many children they should produce, because the couples were producing a lot of children. And it was, in fact, right now also you can see the population is keeps on increasing, okay. So family planning programs and RCH programs like reproductive child health and care, okay, reproductive child health and care programs, okay. So these were all introduced, right? Then apart from this, another concern was there was lack of awareness among the people, so they did not know that this is how the population is increasing at an exponential level. So to create awareness, the NGOs came forward, and you should know NGOs means non-governmental organization. So you should know about them, that they work, they are not government organizations, they just the few people, they come together. They may be few in the beginning, but that if it is working good in the favor of the public or society, so they get cooperation from government as well. So non-governmental organizations, people come together and work for the welfare of the society or a particular section or people of society. And apart from that, audio visuals were used. So you must know that audio visuals means any kind of advertisements onto the FM or television, visuals on the television. So these things were they started using. And then there should be knowledge about the growth of reproductive organs. So knowledge about growth of reproductive organs. So these are certain concerns and their solutions also I am discussing with you, which we have opted for. So knowledge about, I can say, knowledge about the growth of reproductive organs. So for example, if there is a child, and child means if there is a boy in his teenage, and he starts having abdominal pain. So there may be a case of cryptorchidism. I told you that testes do not descend down into the scrotum via inguinal canal in that case. So he should when he's being taught about these things, or parents are aware about these things, so at least they can go to the doctor to ask that why this abdominal pain, consistent abdominal pain is there. So there should be slight knowledge about the growth of reproductive organs, and it is not necessary that whoever is choosing biology, only those students are going to have this knowledge. So each and every stream students at least have a certain basic knowledge about them. So that's how nowadays they have introduced the sex education also at the school levels, till 10th standard only, where all the students sit together, whether they are going to choose an 11th standard commerce or bio or maths, right? So knowledge about growth of reproductive organs, okay. And apart from that, as I told you, sex education, that is a very important and a very useful, we can say that the thing which is introduced for the kids, okay. So that's how they teach them about all these things at a basic level. Then knowledge about birth control devices should also be there. So this is very important, because we should understand that it is the time which we are running through is not the time to produce 12, 11 children, 10 children by one couple, because we are in a phase where the resources are limited. So and the all the things now, they are not so accessible easily. So that's how everybody should maintain a limited family. So birth control devices, about them a person should know about STDs. They should know what are STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. So as I am discussing this chapter with you today, so I will be talking about this topic also, okay. So sexually transmitted diseases, right? Knowledge about them also should be there. Then apart from this, care of mother and child. So earlier what used to happen is, when the child is born, so after that the people, they do not care for either of mother or of child as much as they want it in that initial phase of the delivery. So care of mother should be there, that is called as postnatal care. What do you mean by postnatal care? So postnatal means after birth, because natal means birth. So natal has derived from the term birth, natality. So postnatal care should be there, and for the child, reproductive child and healthcare programs, like those programs are there, which can be done. Importance of breastfeeding, or this should be known to everybody, not only to mother, even to the father as well, and to the whole family as well. Because if you are not following this, if you are not knowing this, so the infant will not get immunity from his her mother, which is important in the initial phase, because he or she is his or her immune system is not that strong at that point of time. So immunity is derived from the mother only. So the breast milk has immunity providing antibodies, IgA antibodies. So this is very important, so its importance should be known. And then there should be knowledge or an idea about sex related crimes and abuse as well. So when I talk about this abuse or crime, so you may read in newspapers, you may hear on to the audios, or your FM or different platforms, that many sex related crimes, they take place in our country or even outside country. So we should be safe, and at least we should know certain things, that how to maintain our safety, and where to go, where not to go alone. So all these things should be kept in mind before trusting anybody blindly. So about these things also, we must have an idea. And these all were the problems, and along with that, the solutions and certain idea about abortions, about stillbirths. So abortion means, although it is banned now, so it cannot be done, even because people, in earlier times, people used to go for abortion if they used to get to know that that there is a female child or female embryo in the uterus of the mother. So for aborting, they used to go for aborting that female child. They used to go for abortions. But there are natural abortions also, so you must have that idea about them. Stillbirths means the child which is born, the baby which is born to mother is dead. Okay, so he or she is not alive, and that are called as stillbirths. So we should have an idea about them, right? All these, etc., right? And then so a medicine came, which was your Saheli, which called as Saheli, and it created a revolution overall. So it was a revolutionary drug, okay, or I can say revolutionary pill for the females for birth control, in terms of birth control, right? So I'll talk about it later on, but for the time being, you should just remember its name. It's important, that's why I've written it. So when it came in the market, so it became a revolutionary step. That means it worked very nicely for as a birth control device, okay. And then medical facilities, so earlier the medical facilities were not that sound, but now the medical facilities have improved much more, and they also help to cope up with certain problems related to reproductive health, okay. And apart from that, a very important factor I'm going to discuss with you, which is amniocentesis, okay. So I am putting 2 stars over it, and this is important for us. What is the reason? It is a fetal sex and disorder determination test. Fetal sex and disorder determination test, okay. So via this test, you can just determine the disorder of the child, of the baby, or of the embryo. So disorder determination test based on chromosomal analysis. Based on chromosomal analysis. Okay, so I can write over here, based on chromosomal analysis, right? So here you can find out the biochemical enzymatic abnormalities of the child. So considering as okay, let me draw one diagram just to interpret it. So can you see, this is your embryo, obviously, who is lying down, and this is the whole uterus. So you can see this, that here you have this whole is your uterus part, right? Like this. Like this we can draw this, okay. Okay, so this is the uterus part, and then you have this fetal cells as well, and the placenta as well. So this which you can see is your part where the fetal cells are going to be present. So all these which I am making, these are the fetal cells, and the baby is present, the embryo is present in the amniotic fluid. So this is the amniotic fluid. Okay, so this is the amniotic fluid. Okay, and this is placenta. So here we can see that this is your placenta part. Okay, so this is the placenta part. So you can see that we can label it as placenta, and the rest part, these are this is your amniotic fluid, these blue colored dots, and there are fetal cells, amniotic fluid. Okay, and these are the red colored fetal cells which you can see over here. So these are fetal cells in that amniotic fluid, they are present, and this black colored structure is your uterus. Okay, so we can write it as uterus, right? So this is how the embryo is present, protected in the safe in the amniotic fluid. And we what do we do is we just at approximately 15th week of embryonic life, what we do is we just aspirate the amniotic fluid, approximately 20 ml of amniotic fluid, to test to do the chromosomal analysis. Okay, so basically this method is via this method we are able to analyze the biochemical and enzymatic abnormalities of embryo. Okay, so biochemical and enzymatic abnormalities of embryo, right? But we cannot, and one more thing which has been added to your NCRT, there was a correction at the end of last year happened, and there they did the correction, and they added few names that you can find out about the chromosomal disorders like Down syndrome, hemophilia, etc. So you have to remember these names. We will get to know that the child is going to suffer from this if he or she borns, so takes birth, right? And but we cannot find out the structural abnormalities, or I can write structural anomalies. They cannot be identified by the help of amniocentesis. Like you can give the example of cleft palate. Okay, so what do you understand by cleft palate? So when the embryo is growing, so there are certain fusions in your bones and many structures. So for example, these lips also, they are separately formed and then they get fused. So if they are unable to get fused, cleft lip occurs. And similarly your palate, this one, your palate, if the right one and the left one, they are not able to get fused properly at that point of time, so there is a communication formed between nasal cavity and oral cavity. So whatever you take into the mouth, it can go up, like if you are doing like this, and from nasal cavity to oral cavity the stuff will come in. So this is called as cleft palate. So surgically they have to be closed, right? So we cannot know about such kind of a structural anomaly means abnormality only. Okay, so even we cannot know about congenital heart disorders. Okay, congenital means since birth. Okay, so we are not able to even find out about congenital heart defects, and even not about jaundice. So this was a previous year asked question, this jaundice, so you can remember it, that we even cannot find anything about it. So this is your previous year question. Have you got it right? So now moving ahead with the next part, so I'm going to tell you that we are going to discuss one topic, that is human population growth now. Okay, so human population growth is dependent upon two factors. Earlier the part which I was discussing with you, it was an introductory part. Okay, what are the certain concerns or problems and what are the solutions to them. But now we have moved on to the to one of the major subtopics of this chapter, that is human population growth. So it is dependent on you can say average annual growth rate. So we can write over here average average annual growth rate, and the formula to calculate it is as follows: P2 minus P1 upon P1 multiplied by n, like this. Okay, multiplied by 100. So here P2 is population in present census, population in present or current census. So census is what do you mean by census? Census is the number of individuals present in a given region at a given time, in a given region at a given time. And when you talk about P1, so it is population in previous census. So the population is counted approximately every 10 years, or in a range of this again, so to update it that whether it has increased or by how much percentage it has increased. So that's how between two census, this is n, that is number of years between two census, number of years between two census. Okay, so that is how it is calculated, right? And apart from it, we can also represent it via a graph. So this kind of a graph can be drawn where I am representing four census, right? So this is census 1, for example, this is census 2, this is census 3 and 4 respectively. So for example, this is census 1, this is 2, this is 3 and this is 4. So if I have to represent birth rate over here, so for example, I am just drawing a graph kind of a thing for the birth rate. Okay, so like this I am going to draw it. Okay, and when we talk about this, so this is a constant birth, this is birth rate. So let me first of all write it, and you can see in first and second decade census, it is somewhat constant, and in C4 it is fluctuating, so up down, that kind of fluctuating graph we have shown, and here it is declining. Okay, when we need to represent our graph for death rate, so like this, it is fluctuating in decade 1 and death rate got decreased. It got decreased. Why? Because medical facilities got improved, so now people can easily get access of the hospitals. So this is initially it was, death rate was high only, but it was fluctuating up and low, but then it got declined due to improved medical facilities. But if I have to draw the overall population, total population graph, so it will be like this, that population keeps on increasing only. So this is the graph of total population. If I look at overall population, so for me it is increasing only. I can see that. Okay, I can see that means we all can see that. Okay, so this is a graph which is representing the population according to the census, different census, right? So we can say that in 1965, 70s, it was approximately 2.1%. 2.1% means 21 individuals per 1,000 individuals. Okay, and currently means 2,000, you can say. Now it is around according to 2000 census report, it is 1.7%. That means 17 individuals per 1,000 individuals. But according to the latest census report, that is the 2011 report I am talking about. So many of you are not knowing this data, must not be knowing this data. Why? Because you may have old NCRTs, and this data is updated recently, although the census report is of 2011. So last year the corrections which they included into the NCRT, in that they included this data as well. So you should know the latest data So according to 2011, it is around less than 2.0. That means 20 individuals per 1000 individuals. Got it? So now moving ahead, let me explain you certain terminologies. First of all, I am talking about fertility. Okay, so fertility means what? Ability of reproductively active individuals to produce babies is fertility. Okay, then we have TFR, that is total fertility rate. Okay, total fertility rate. And let me tell you that I told you that it is dependent on two factors, if you remember. So I explained one factor, and second factor also, let me write for you. It is doubling time. So doubling time, that means how much time the population takes to get doubled. And you will find one question according to early data, and the answer to that question, that how many years it took to get doubled. So the answer to that question is 33 years. Okay, but right now again into NCERT they have included that it keeps on increasing. It is just increasing, right? And TFR means total fertility rate. Total fertility rate means total number of children which can be produced to a woman in her reproductive lifetime, in her reproductive period. So total or average number of children which are born to a woman in her overall reproductive life, that is known as total fertility rate. So these are certain terminologies which we are covering up. Natality means birth rate, you can say, and this means number of births per thousand individuals. Number of births per thousand individuals. Then we have mortality as well. So you can write you can call it death rate. So that means number of deaths per thousand individuals. Okay, so mortality is the term which is used for death. Okay, and then we have RL, which means replacement level. So this means that how many children a couple should produce, in order to replace themselves after their deaths, to maintain the population growth level at 0. So did you get it, that I said that how many children, number of children which a couple should produce in order to replace themselves after their death. Okay, so that the population growth level remains at 0. So I guess you have got it, that if they are two, because the couple, that is a male and a female, as they are two in number, so the ideal thing says that they should produce two children to the max. Okay, so that after when they will die, so their children will take their place, and that therefore neither the population will decline nor it will increase. Okay, so in developed countries its value is 2.1 right now. So they are very much near to the balanced population. But in developing countries like India, like ours, so the this value is more, and it is 2.7. Okay, so it is slightly more than 2, because sometimes the children, they are not able to reach their reproductive ages as well. But ideally, when it is equal to the number of parents, so that will maintain the population growth level at 0. Now when I talk about crude birth rate. So crude birth rate means then that the number of births are counted at the middle of year as well. Crude means raw. Okay, so they have picked the date which is approximately this middle, which is approximately July. You can say July month they do that. Okay, so July I can write for you, because this is approximately the mid of the whole year, right? So Crude birth rate means number of live births. That means after January, in July also, the babies who are alive, only those are counted. Who are dead, so they will be removed out from the list of birth rate. And the death rate means number of deaths which have occurred after January, in February, March, May, right, like that. So they will count that those death numbers also. So number of deaths, this is also done in July. So the number of deaths, at the middle of the year, the exact data they again take it, right? And then rate of natural increase, rate of natural increase, when we talk about this, okay, so rate of natural increase can be calculated by birth rate, by subtracting birth rate and death rate. So by subtracting death rate from birth rate, I should say like this. And demographic transition, what do you mean by this? So demographic transition means when the birth rate and the death rate, they become equal to each other. They become equal to each other. So I can write that this means that birth rate is equal to death rate. Again, you can say the population growth level is maintained at 0. Okay, so now we are going to talk about age sex pyramids. Okay, there are two types of pyramids which we are going to draw, and one will be for developed countries. So the first case is for developed countries, right? And for developed countries, it appear like this. For developed countries, right, it appears like this. So I am going to draw it onto the next slide of ours. So like this we can draw it. So at one side we will be writing the age, okay. So this is going to be age. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and that's how similarly till here 60 and 70. Okay, and then here you are having the population in millions. So population in million, okay, population in million. And it is like this: 0, 20 million, 40 million, 60 million, 80, like this it is going. And here as well, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, like this. And the pyramid appears like this. So here we are representing the males, for example, in on this side, and on the another side, for example, we are representing the females. So can you see this pyramid which I am drawing for you is somewhat looking like this. And when I will draw the pyramid for developing countries, so it will look different from this one. So let me do one thing. Let me draw for developing countries as well, so that we will be able to compare them. For developing countries, right, similar pyramid we are going to draw. The similar things we are going to take, like this vertically we are going to take the age and down at this population, same. So I'm not marking the things again. So I'm just making the pyramid which is required for us to draw. All other things are same. So can you see this pyramid now, that I'm just going in a particular manner that their lengths are getting decreasing. Can you see this? Okay, right. So the difference between both of the pyramids is, as you have seen these stairs, there are two types of stairs. One are very steep like this, very high, and one path is like this. The stairs are like this, you can move this way. So this one is more steep. So this one is more steep, and this one is less less steeper, you can say, right? And here it is representing rapidly increasing population. And here you can also observe one thing, that in the above pyramid of developed countries, all the population, all males and females as well, even 0 10, that means in your children, teenagers, adults, old age people, all are approximately in same number. You can say there is just you can say there is just a difference of more or less they are same. That's how we can say that. But then in this another case for developing countries, the rapidly growing population is seen, and here the reproductively active individuals are more. So you can say see this, that the old age people, their number is very less as compared to the reproductively active individuals, and in case of developed countries they are more or less same in number. Okay, so here our population numbers are dependent on the, especially on the reproductively active females. Okay, and in countries, developing countries like India, there are many reproductively active individuals more than old age people, elderly people. So that's how the population is always more or large in case of developing countries, which should be balanced very soon, right? So otherwise we will be having a lack of resources, right? So this was all about the pyramids, and now we are going to talk about the birth control devices. This is the topic which is actually the most important topic of this chapter. Okay, so birth control devices, for controlling the population, government also took many measures, like they fixed marriageable age. For females they fixed 18 years of age, for males they fixed 21 years of age. So why there is this difference between their marriageable ages? Is there any partiality done by government? No, it's not like that. You must have read in your biology, human reproduction also, or in many chapters in previous classes as well, that the age of puberty is 10 to 12 years in case of females, and in case of males it is 12 to 14 or 13 years of age. So the sexual maturity is attained earlier in case of females as compared to the males. So that's how they fixed this age, and they started giving incentives, bonus for small families. Many slogans came out for promoting the couples, or for promoting the public to follow the programs like Hum Do Hamare Do and many more. So this way they tried to control the population, but is was that enough? No, it was not at all enough. So they in fact included many couples, approximately 55% of couples, into Couple Protection Act. Okay, but then there was a need of these devices. And what are the properties of these devices? Now let me tell you. They should be, first of all, user friendly. Okay, so they should be easy to use, otherwise the customer, the public, is not going to buy them. They should be cheap, they should not be expensive. Again, that will be the reason that the customer is going to buy it, or the people are going to buy it easily, comfortably. Okay, otherwise if it is expensive they will not go to buy that. Okay, and then it should be reversible. So we are using these devices for pausing the pregnancy for a certain period of time. So it should be reversible. It should not be like that, that after we use stopping them, so the pregnancy is not able to happen. Okay, so it should not be like that. It should be reversible, least or no side effects. There should be no or least side effects. Okay, and no or least side effects, and it should be effective against pregnancy as well. So these all are the properties, and now I'm going to discuss the first method with you, which are natural methods. So first of all, they are not at all reliable. Remember that they are not at all dependable. Now, because they may vary from female to female, person to person. So the first method which is discussed in this topic is safe method or rhythm method. Safe method or rhythm method. Okay, so when we talk about this method, no, we just say that when I talk about ovulation, so it approximately happens at the mid of the cycle, or if I am talking about a 28 or 29-day cycle, so approximately at 14th day, consider that. So the 3 days prior to that 14th day, that means 11th, 12th and 13th, and 3 days after that ovulatory day, that is 15, 16 and 17 of the month, they are considered as the most fertile period. So 10 to 17th day, I am telling you, they are considered as most fertile period. So you must be thinking, why am I saying 11, 12 and 13? Because at that time the egg is not there in the body. So how can that period can be considered as most fertile period too? Why? Because you just can have an idea according to the menstrual cycle days, but that is not exact, is going to be exact, because that is just an assumption. There may be variations in the body processes. There may be 2-3 days up and down. So we consider 10th to 17th day as the most fertile period. So the most safe period is till 10th or 9th day of the menstrual cycle, because from the first day periods or menstruation is occurring. So at that time the egg is coming out with the along with the broken blood vessels of endometrium, right? That is in the form of bleeding. So those days till 9th or 10th day, the female is not having any egg inside her. So even if the sperms enter inside the body, they will not be able to fertilize because there is no egg, right? So they cannot fertilize anything over there. So this is called as rhythm method as well, because we are just taking an idea that rhythm is maintained, that this month the menstruation began on this date. So according to that we are generating an idea about it. So that's how it is called as rhythm method too. It is also called as periodic abstinence. Okay, so what this term you need to understand. Periodic means for a certain duration the couple has to be away from each other. Abstinence means they have to be away from each other. That means they should not go for copulation in that most fertile period. Okay, so when ovulation occurs, at that day the temperature increases by 1 degree Fahrenheit, and it is maintained up to this degree till the next 3 days of ovulation. So it is due to progesterone, and the cervical mucus, it becomes more stretchable and flexible and abundant due to estrogen. So you have to remember these points as well, and you have to remember that the most fertile period is 3 days before and 3 days after the ovulation. Got it? Now the second method is withdrawal method. Withdrawal method means it is very easy to understand according to its name also. So when the copulation is occurring, the male has to withdraw his penis just before ejaculation, just before releasing the sperms into the female genital tract. So there are high chances of failure of this method. Why? Because there may be wrong timing of withdrawing the penis. Apart from that, there may be pre-ejaculatory emission of the sperm. So what happens is, if you remember bulbourethral glands or Cowper's glands, so they secrete mucus, and there may be a situation where the male is thinking that I will just withdraw it just before the release of sperms, but he doesn't know that the mucus which is already released inside the female's body was having sperms. So he is confident about that, but that can lead to pregnancy. So there are high chances of failure of this method. And then one more method is lactational amenorrhea. Lactational amenorrhea. So you should know, you should understand that A means absent and menorrhea means menstruation. So during high lactation period, that means when the female is producing milk after the delivery, so at that time also menstruation does not occur, because due to high concentration of hormone prolactin and oxytocin, there is suppression of gonadotropin. So what did I say? This is an important point for you. I'm saying that due to high prolactin and oxytocin, what happens is there is a suppression. There is a suppression of gonadotropins, that is FSH and LH. So if there will be no FSH, there will be no ovulation, because the follicles won't be able to grow. So that's how, again, there is no egg in the female's body. And then also, if sperms go inside the female genital tract, they won't be able to fertilize anything. So during high lactation period, and books say it is approximately till 6 months. So let me tell you, practically it is not trustable. Why? Because in some females, the menstrual cycle resumes within 1.5 months or 2 months or 3 months after delivery. So it again varies from female to female, but the max is 6 months, right? So again, it is not a reliable method. So all natural methods are not non-reliable methods, you can say. Then we have mechanical or barrier methods. Mechanical or barrier methods, right? So in these methods, we take the names of male and female condoms, right? And here okay, so here you can give the first as male condoms, where you can use the example, the famous brand of Nirodh, and they protect you like females also, femidomes or fem shields. Okay, so they both protect from STDs. This is a very important feature of them, and you can say a very good advantage of them, that they both protect from sexually transmitted diseases, and they are easy to buy, they are easily available at the chemist shops, and they are cheap also. So protect from STDs, right? And apart from that, these male condoms, they are formed of latex, and femidomes, they are made up of polyethylene, okay, polyurethane. So apart from that, you can take the names of diaphragms. Diaphragms are placed in vagina or cervix. And then we have cervical caps, so they are placed in case of in cervix part. So obviously they are placed in case of a female. And let me tell you, female condoms are lesser known to people, lesser used, and male condoms are more predominantly they are used. Then we have vaginal voids. So they are placed into vagina, so that the sperms do not get entered into it. So but they do not protect from STDs, you have to remember that. So they are formed of rubber generally, and their diagrams also are asked to you. What they can do is, in the question they can put the diagrams, and in front of them they can write their function or their names. So you have to match all those. So this is the diagram of the first one, and in case of femidome, there is a bigger ring and there is a inner smaller ring like this. Then we have this diaphragm, which is like a bowl like this, okay, and half you can say hemisphere. Then this is your cervical cap appearing like this, right? And this is a small hemisphere, you can say, which is a vaginal wall. So this was all about mechanical or barrier methods. Then we are going to have the third one, which is chemical contraceptives. Chemical contraceptives. So I am using a term contraceptives because I told you that conception means pregnancy, and contraceptives, the birth control devices which we are dealing with, these are contraceptive methods also, they are known as. So chemical contraceptives here, you can give the examples of creams, jellies which are applied onto the vagina, which are applied onto the penis. So creams like Delphin, so this is an important name which you have to remember. Jellies like Volpar paste, uh, etc. And then we have chloramine tea, Contab, sponge today. All these are examples of them, and what they are having when we are applying them, no, so they are having acids citric acid, lactic acid, boric acid, potassium permanganate. So you know that sperms are not able to survive in acidic environment, so whenever the copulation will occur, they will just get killed over there itself, right? And delphin is the name which you have to remember. Apart from this, their function, how do they work? So they are spermicidal in nature. Spermicidal, where CIDAL means they just kill the sperms by disrupting their membrane. Okay, so this was all about the chemical contraceptive. So the fact is that we are done with this session's timing, and I know birth control devices are yet to be discussed. There are many more, and I'll be discussing them in the very next lecture. So do continue to join me. Thank you for this session.